We're back here on the World Football Show, and Mina, it was a sad weekend for many of us. I got the news around 4 o'clock that my friend and footballing legend Giorgio Chinaglia had passed away in the early hours of Sunday morning, and for me it was quite a shock because I'd only just spoken to him 2 days earlier on Friday. We'd been he had me as a guest on his radio show. Okay. And it was a sad day, and I think one that sort of resonated across, not just in Italy, but obviously in the US and Wales as well.
Yeah, everywhere. Now, this was a player that defined sort of Lazio's Scudetto 1974. He was famous for sort of berating coaches, and when he played with Pelé, he said, "Oh, I didn't play with Pelé. Pelé played with me." You know, I mean, he was a great personality. On top of being a footballer who just really wanted to win and go forth and conquer, never give up. Now, like you said, you know him personally. So, what is it like talking to him? Was he a madman, or was he just one of the most genuine men you've ever come across?
It was, it's a great question. It's remarkable because he's a very, very bright guy. But like a lot of bright people who've made big mistakes, and I think it's undeniable, obviously with his court case later in life and whatever else, with people like that, you wonder, are they also a bit mad? Are they uncontrollable? And I think that's just kind of the way he was. I think he had this sort of impulsive, almost childlike quality. But most of all, he had this tremendous generosity. Anybody who's ever been around him will tell you that he always stopped for a fan wanting an autograph, or whether you were a journalist ringing him or whatever. And one of his biggest gripes about the modern game was the distance between the superstars and the fans and the supporters. And he could explain it both in a business sense, because obviously it's promotion for the game, but also he said, most of these footballers come from nothing, and he himself came very much from nothing, a very poor family, and he was always so mindful of that and so respectful of that.
But one of the greatest to have ever graced the game for Italy.
I think certainly one of the greatest center forwards, and really, as I put it yesterday, a man who lived many lifetimes in his 65 years, because he really did so much. And I know Giorgio would want us to remember him with a laugh. So once you're done with this, go on YouTube and type in football crazy, and he made a music video in 1974, and it really is him singing. It was right around the time he was actually in a film with Elizabeth Taylor, and I think I could say this. He certainly would lead you to believe that he and old Liz got intimate.
Oh, really?
But maybe that's just the legend and the myth of Giorgio Chinaglia. That's how
maybe it's just an Italian.
We want to remember him. Exactly.
Right, okay, so moving on, it was a mad weekend indeed. Right, and we've got Tancredi with us.
That's right, Tancredi Palmieri from the Hofsports Bistro in Milan. You see the place with all the banners and the scarves and the shirts in the background.
You love that place, Tank. You're always there.
Well, actually, yes. Honestly, if they would have also a bed for me, I must say that half of my week I would spend here, I must say.
You lead such an interesting life, Tancredi.
You don't know what kind of people are passing here through.
Next week will be a strip joint.
Now,
if you know the waitress, you would agree with me.
Off the top, we have to ask this because we have a title race in the Bundesliga now. Do we have a proper title race in Serie A after a weekend in which Catania held Milan to a 1-1 draw, and Juventus spanked, I think is the appropriate word, Napoli 3-0. It's a 2-point gap. Milan have the easier run-in. Is it a real proper title race?
Well, guys, what do you think? It's 8 match days to the end, and it is something like this. And Milan still has the clash with Barcelona before the next match day. I'm saying just the clash with Barcelona because I don't think there will be other more. But anyway, and when you have, teams like Catania that can stop you, and also the situation is getting so dramatic for the third place, that is the one that is qualifying to Champions League, and in a way for the relegation, because there are some couple of teams. First of all, Fiorentina, they shouldn't be involved there, and it's just a huge drama for them to be there. So
Tancredi, one thing at a time, because you're covering all the scripts at once.
Okay, goodbye.
Title race. Do we have a race, considering the fact that there's 8 games left, but frankly, Milan basically plays 6 of them at the San Siro, and except for Inter and possibly Atalanta, the other teams are all Muppets.
No, I don't agree, because I don't think so, because they're facing sides that are actually going to be trying to not get relegated, so they could give them a really hard team. Like Siena.
Siena will be safe by the time they play them.
Bologna.
Bologna. What's Bologna? I'm not familiar with such a team. Tancredi, please.
Pioli's doing a wonderful.
I must say one thing. Yes, if you look at both the calendar, actually they don't have a so difficult journey until the end. But for example, next Sunday, after what happened to Fiorentina now, Milan is playing Fiorentina at San Siro. The game shouldn't be that difficult, but the situation is so dramatic, and Milan will come back from Camp Nou. I mean, really, everything could happen. We have to look also in which situation Milan will come back psychologically, will come back from Camp Nou, because if they will be out, but after a 2-1, a 1-0, something like that, of course, they will be all, in some way anyway, cheering, because they respected the history of a club. But if they will be squeezed, it will be a 3-0. Of course, there will be a huge pressure over Allegri. So, in my opinion, there is a huge race. If you remember when some weeks ago I was in London, I exactly said that if Juventus will clinch Milan, that might happen in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, but
we're all talking about this because Milan dropped 2 points. They would not have dropped 2 points if that goal had been given. Robinho's shot, Marquez on
we
the
don't
line.
know. Don't call it a goal yet, because we're not entirely sure
might
it
have been a
crossed
goal,
over
might not
the
have been a
line,
goal.
and the whole
I
ball
honestly
was
don't
on
know.
out.
I've seen every replay.
You can see the AC Milan website, and the picture that picture shows it to have been crossed the line. If you actually watch it, I actually didn't think that the entire ball had crossed the line, whether it had or whether it hadn't. Surely, with the linesman, it's a difficult call to make. The one against Juventus was clear.
Exactly.
Was
I think
very
this is the point.
clear.
Why is Galliani doing this? He says unacceptable. It's a very difficult call to make, whatever you think.
Is this a big
Why
game?
Is he being such a
this
baby?
a big club attitude? Really?
But there is one thing to say before everything, guys. Even if a ball, and this is the case, even if a ball crossed the line, doesn't mean that is a goal, because the ball has to cross the line. Also, I know that it sounds difficult to explain, also with the prospection of the ball. So might be there is still some grass between the goal line and the ball.
I know what you mean. The entire circumference has to cross the line. But I think, I ask you, we all know the rules though, but Tancredi, Galliani, why is he doing this? Has a screw come loose in his head? Yes. Or does he actually think it's good for Milan's image to go and behave like this?
Maybe they're jealous of Juve.
Why?
Stop it.
Exactly because of that guy, because of
You
the
want
pressure.
to talk.
Because they feel that they cut the 2 points of gap that they had, of advantage that they had before. And this pressure is working in Milan's mind. I mean, actually, after the complaints of Juventus, of Juve, since the Parma Juventus, a bit that attitude worked, and now there is a huge attention over all this refereeing. If they would feel so sure and so safe, they wouldn't react so hysterically like they did yesterday.
You know what, Tancredi? Listen, I've had it with Galliani. You know what he needs to do?
Really
since he has all the answers, then maybe he should become president of the Italian League, because I'm sure if he ever became president of the Italian League, he could fix everything. Oh no, look, he already was president of the Italian League. And we're still in the same position. Basta, enough Galliani, come on.
I just wonder what Cesena would do.
No,
I'm just saying, like, this is the kind of, you're a big club, you should be able to handle the pressure. They are not handling the pressure very well.
We need to talk some Juve here. We've given Galliani too much space on the show
Juve,
already.
who don't get involved in other people's teams.
No, never.
No, they don't. They don't get involved.
But let's not talk about Juve. Juve won 3-0. Well done.
Allegri needs to stop talking for once. He is an embarrassment.
We're getting very clear directions from our producer that we need to get through many topics.
All right,
so
fine,
I think
fine.
we've devoted more than
Juventus
no,
was
let's not talk about
splendid.
Juventus. Let's talk about Napoli's front three. In 30 seconds, why can Cavani, Lavezzi, and Hamsik look so good and just completely stink it up against Juve, who I thought deservedly beat the stuffing out of them?
Not one shot on target.
Absolutely, deservedly. I mean, Napoli has probably been good just in pressing and in keeping up the intensity, but of course that is not enough to match Juventus, and of course that is not what everyone was expecting. I can tell you, Gab, and I can tell you, Mina, never this season I found a so wide agreement between the journalists about the surprise of how Napoli played yesterday. We really were all a lot surprised. And actually, we were also surprised that President De Laurentiis was not mad after the game. It seemed like they felt acceptable, so comparing to the unacceptable for Milan, they felt like acceptable to lose with Juventus. And actually, it is. But I mean, they should have fight much more and not concede in that way. Also because the other clubs that are fighting for the third place, for the Champions League spot, they all lost yesterday. Lazio lost.
No, they didn't all lose. They didn't all lose because, of course, Roma won, and Roma remained my tip to finish third.
I think we have to just for a moment just mention the fact that Juventus did play a very great second half, and especially, and we have to give a special mention to Vidal, who played one of the best games I've ever seen him play with a wonderful goal. Right. So certainly the gap is open. But let's talk about Inter Genoa, because obviously it's the first game for Stramaccioni, who is, I have to say, one of my favorite coaches. Watching him already. I mean,
so
I remember
patronizing, isn't she?
Arrigo Sacchi saying wanting him for the under-17 job, and I remember at the time I read so much about him, especially because he's, I love men who are very devoted to their wives, and I think that's a very important quality. But
if they are devoted to the wives, why do you love them?
I don't know. Because I love how wonderful. Anyway, that's not the point. What he did in the Next Gen series was especially wonderful. The way that he has managed to give them the competitive edge for the Primavera side. And on top of it, Inter has one of the best youth, I think one of the best youth teams ever. He gave them balance, he gave them a competitive edge, and now
this is all the past. Let's talk about the present.
So now, okay, let me finish. My God, talk about being rushed. So I feel like I'm racing against time. Now, you saw them play, conceded 5 goals, although he's actually defensively very strong, and I think that's very normal for him for a new thing, for a new
it's
first
very normal
time.
to concede 4 goals.
Yes, he conceded 7 to Tottenham Hotspurs in the Next Gen series. It was his first game.
It's normal for him.
It is normal for him. He's trying to suss out the team, and this is Inter, who'll have Lucio gallivanting in the top half. What do you think of him, and do you think that he is someone that will last the distance, or will he, sort of fall under the pressure?
I would say that he will for sure last the distance of 9 games. That one is separating now Inter to the end of the season. The thing is that yesterday there were a lot of talks during this week. He will promote the guys from the youth team. He will bring new people. He will make a revolution. Well, yesterday Inter's lineup was with Stankovic, Cambiasso, Kivu, and Zarate up in front, right on the front. Actually, the team played quite good, so very conservative picks. Inter played quite good, still a lot of blackouts, defensive blackouts, but also, I would say, in the connection between the defense and the midfield. There is one thing that is very hard to heal, that was actually what killed Inter in the past, in the very recent past against Juventus. After the beginning of the second half, after the first 55, 60 minutes, the focusing of the team, or I don't know if it is the athletic preparation, is like melting down, crashing. Yesterday, Genoa scored 4 goals, and they almost didn't know how they could make it, because they were like, they were just throwing the ball in the box, and something was always happening. The defense was quite undefended in some way. So Stramaccioni is bringing enthusiasm. He has personality, that for sure. But now, after having this celebration against Genoa, that sacked, by the way, Marino after this 5-4, and his 17th change in Serie A this year.
Tancredi, thank you so much. We have to leave it there. You're right. Marino sacked one of my favorite people in the universe, Alberto Malesani, taking over. Let's talk about Roma. 5 goals. The project is on track. I still think they're going to finish in the top 3. Inconsistent. Yeah, everybody's inconsistent. It's Serie A. We'll catch you after the break with some.
Like you said, you know him personally. So what is it like talking to him? Was he a madman, or was he just one of the most genuine men you've ever come across?
It was, it's a great question. It's remarkable because he's a very, very bright guy. But like a lot of bright people who've made big mistakes, and I think it's undeniable, obviously, with his court case later in London, in Wales as well.
Yeah, everywhere. Now, this was a player that defined sort of Lazio Scudetto 1974. He was famous for sort of berating coaches, and when he played with Pele, he said, "Oh, I didn't play with Pele. Pele played with me." You know, I mean, he was a great personality on top of being a footballer who just really wanted to win and go forth and conquer, never give up. Now,
We're back here on the World Football Show, and Mina, it was a sad weekend for many of us. I got the news around 4 o'clock that my friend and footballing legend Giorgio Chinaglia had passed away in the early hours of Sunday morning, and for me it was quite a shock because I'd only just spoken to him 2 days earlier on Friday. We'd been he had me as a guest on his radio show.
Okay.
And it was a sad day, and I think one that sort of resonated across, not just in Italy, but obviously in the US and whatever else. With people like that, you know, you wonder, are they also a bit mad? Are they uncontrollable? And I think that's just kind of the way he was. I think he had this sort of impulsive, almost childlike quality. But most of all, he had this tremendous generosity.